What's going on, guys? Travis here from Drift Climb. This is going to be the first episode of a series I'm starting called Grassroots to Pro-Am. Throughout the course of this series, I'm going to try to document and vlog as much as possible my journey as a grassroots driver from Japan to the competition space in the US. I'm going to try to cover what it takes to build a car, how much it costs, some of the parts and stuff that I use on my car, and the parts and brands that I believe in. I'm going to try to cover how to register and get into competitions, what it takes to practice, ways that you can improve yourself, and ways that I find that I can improve. Alright, a little bit of background on myself. I started drifting in Japan about 5 years ago when I first started living there. I lived there for about 3 years, and over that course of time I had initially purchased a S chassis, an S14 that you see right here. This is my car from Japan that I imported back with me when I came back to the States. Throughout that time I started basically with absolutely no know-how on what drifting was or how to do it. I started my first day at basically the smallest little skid pad out in Japan and did some donuts, did some figure eights, and thought I was the coolest thing in the world. Over the course of time that I had stayed there, I started to try to progress my driving. I enjoyed it a lot. The second time I ever went drifting was a Matsuri at Ebisu, where it was extremely trial by fire. Over the course of the next couple years, I had been going basically back to Ebisu and to some of the other tracks around Japan, Mabara, Nikko Circuit, and basically just enjoying it, having fun. At that point, it was really all about that, just having fun. In Japan, the drift culture is a lot different than what it is out here. There's a totally different set of criteria and stuff, and a totally different mindset when it comes to what you build in Japan and what you need to use to drift on a daily basis, what kind of cars and stuff that you would normally run as a seat time car. Over here in the States, we look at some of the cars and stuff that they run in Japan as basically like some of the holy grail cars and stuff that you see. But yet you go to Ebisu and they're just everywhere. We got GTRs, R32s, R33s, Chasers, any of the JZX chassis, all S chassis of all kinds, and people just throwing them as hard as they can, as fast as possible, into some of the wildest tracks imaginable. Let's take a look at the car. So this is basically going to be the base platform for what I'm going to use to start my competition career in the US. This is my 93 S14 that I bought in Japan and had shipped over here. So the car started its life as a blacktop SR. Basically bone stock when I first got it, and throughout my time I started doing some upgrades to it. At that point I was just learning, so I didn't really have much that I needed to do to it. I wasn't looking for any crazy horsepower, and in most cases in Japan you're not going to be running a lot of crazy horsepower. A lot of people are usually running anywhere between 250 to 300 to 400 ish on a good day, and it's not usually until you start seeing some pro drivers that you're going to start getting above that point. So in its current configuration, the upgrades that I've made to it thus far are a Garrett 2871 turbo. I've done a radium fuel rail with top feed injectors that are 750 D-Schwerks cc injectors, and it's got basically the original plenum, an ISR fuel pressure regulator, but where the build really starts kind of getting to where the higher horsepowers come in is the head. So while I was there, I had the head totally refreshed and rebuilt. It's got full HKS internals, HKS Step 1 cams. It was machined by one of the most respected machine shops in Japan called Naparek. They're very famous and known for doing SR builds. They've done their high response kit on this head. The bottom end is still stock, but with this head configuration and turbo and fuel, it's able to make 430 horsepower at the moment. It's running on a Link ECU that I also had tuned in Japan. I deleted the map sensor or the MAF sensor and went to a standalone map sensor, which has made driving it much more reliable and easier. Haven't had any issues basically since then. That being said though, this, as much as I love DSR, is not going to cut it in the US market. In most cases in the US, people are running 500 to 600 plus at an amateur level, and while this engine can definitely do it, it's definitely not going to be able to do it reliably. So at this point, my first step into building this car for competition is that I'm going to have to rip out this engine and throw in something else that can handle more power reliably and be more consistent in competition. That being said, the current plan is that it's going to be a 1JZ VVTi, and after I pull this motor out, I'm going to try to sell it. I'm going to reinvest that money into the 1J and hopefully get about 600 horsepower. Probably going to stay with Link, but I'm going to have to definitely get a Link ECU for the 1J. Going to the interior of the car at the moment. It's still full interior, right-hand drive from Japan. I got some bride seats that I threw in it a while ago. At the moment I have the back seat pulled out, but I still have it. And at the moment I'm going to be getting ready to start pulling all the stuff out of here and having it sent to a shop to have it caged. The shop that it's going to is called Epic Auto Design, and the owner is actually a previous Pro 2 drifter in the US. His name's Rob Carlson, and he has been helping me out a lot. There's not really much stuff fancy in here at the moment. The only thing that's really notable, I suppose, would be the AVCR or AVC-R Apexi boost controller. It's not like anything super crazy. It's pretty old for today's standards, but the nice thing about it is it also works as somewhat mock digital display. It tells me my RPMs, my throttle position, fuel injector times, boost, speed. So I basically started using that instead of my just normal dash. As far as the body goes right now, it's set up with a full Origin Raceline kit. It's got 45 plus millimeter over fenders, and then a 55 plus millimeter over fender in the rear. The car is currently on a GK Tech Superlock kit with some FDF tie rods, and I'm actually going to be changing this to a full FDF Mantis kit. The GK Tech is good, but as far as getting parts a little bit more reliably and a little bit easier, the Mantis kit for me is going to probably be the best in this situation. I've been using their tie rods for about 1.5 years now, and the build quality is great. I haven't had a single issue with them. Beforehand with this kit, I was basically bending stock tie rods constantly, but the FDF kit is very strong. Suspension wise, we're using teen coilovers, front and rear. In this case, I don't know if I'm going to change them just yet. I might try to run them for the first couple competitions. I might just change them immediately and go to maybe some Feels or BC coilovers. Haven't quite decided on that yet. In the rear, we still have stock knuckle. basically just upgraded control arms, all D-Max control arms, and for the most part I haven't had any issue with them. I've been running D-Max basically since I started drifting. If you like what you see or you have any questions or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you everybody for watching. I hope this series can help people like me that are grassroots drifters that are looking to get into a more competitive space in US drifting. If you'd like to support the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and follow me on my journey as a grassroots drifter into Pro-Am competition.